I'm going to make this one a two-parter for a couple of reasons. One, I have two different variations, just slight variations of the same build that I'm trying to decide between. And two, I might need some time to kind of ramble about some other things as well. So quickly I'll start with the build. This is a very common build for the Vapor Eagle. It's, the former Atlas brawling build, SRMs plus most people will mount an LB20. I'm using an Ultra 20 instead. And I think a lot of people somehow squeeze in SRM 6s, whereas I'm just using 4s. I prefer the 4s just because of the extra tonnage that it gives me for ammo, considering how limited this build is on ammo anyway. Otherwise, you have to really drop the engine down, and for such a medium-sized, kind of flimsy mech, I really don't want to drop the engine. So I drop the SRMs down to 4s instead. But the other thing I want to go into is kind of what's been going on lately, why I've barely been uploading. I mentioned in another video that I've had some trouble with my PC, and I did already get my gaming laptop. It's more than capable of running MWO, but I've run into a second problem, which is that I have had to work 7 days a week for a little while now.
Affirmative.
And so on both of those issues, one, I've actually been surprised. I've already got all the replacement parts I need for my desktop. And so I have the pieces now. I need to get it all put together. I should have that done by Monday. And the only problem is going to be just having time to do that. But on that same note, I just found out today that I will be going back to just 6 days a week, quote, just 6 days a week, starting this week. And I requested a transfer, and whenever that goes through, hopefully within the next month anyway, that should get me back down to a 5-day schedule. And so that'll be the first time I've worked just 5 days a week in probably 2 years. So it'll be nice to go back to that, just the 5-day schedule like every other human being in the world, or most people. So just for now, bear with me. Even once I have a little more time, and once I have my desktop set up, I'm gonna have to kind of get into the new routine, because again, I'll have that transfer coming through. That's going to change things up quite a bit. So in the meantime, I am going to try and have as much content going as I can, and once everything settles down and I'm in my new position and have my new schedule and have hopefully a good deal more time, then I'll really be able to figure out just how much I can upload and what I can upload and when I'm going to upload everything, because I still have the other non-Mech Warrior games that I want to upload. I've mentioned some retro games I want to do, and I have a couple of other PC games that I've really gotten into lately, and I've gotten some good footage for, so I want to get that uploaded as well. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with everything, if I'm going to turn anything else into a series or if everything else is going to be a one-off. That's all stuff I kind of need to work out in the coming weeks and months, whatever it takes. I don't really know yet. But back to the build here. So the difference that I mentioned is, other people I think tend to run the LB20, and I really prefer the Ultra 20. I pretty consistently get higher damage numbers, and that's, a decent metric, kind of decent of how well you're doing. But then the LB20 unquestionably takes off more components, which is kind of more useful, I think, to your team. If you're blowing off arms and torsos and whatever, from the enemy mechs, then you're reducing their ability to fight, or at least their ability to, tank damage. So you're probably helping quite a bit with component destruction. So, this version also runs hotter and chews through the ammo much quicker, because, you know, of course you can double tap and fire twice. So, I don't know, the score at the end of this is going to kind of show, honestly, something fairly typical for this particular mech, or this variant of the setup. I know that overall, really, I'm not, you know, showing something that's like revolutionary or whatever. It's mostly just that I'm trying to decide for myself what I prefer and what works better, kind of for me.
Target spotted. Critical damage.
So one thing I've noticed with these is I really tend to lean much more heavily on my ultra cannon, or my autocannon, regardless of whether it's an ultra or an LB20. I always, you know, use those a lot more than I do my SRMs. So I might want to, like, maybe shift over half a ton of ammo or something. It might not be so bad once I have this skilled up and I have the ammo quirks, but for now, you know, I just always run out of Ultra 20 ammo. At least assuming that I survive at all. Now here, unfortunately, I think I was wasting my time earlier because I'm pretty sure that other Vapor Eagle is actually out of ammo. And so I keep focusing on it, not quite realizing he's not firing. You know, he's just sort of dancing around. And by the time that really sinks in, I mean, it's just too late. You know, I'm already kind of right up against this Marauder.
Ultra autocannon ammo.
And I was trying to maneuver in behind her, but I was also trying to block her path, so I couldn't quite do both. You know, that's why I just sort of wound up just hugging on the, you know, her side.
Destroyed. Destroyed. Right.
Then here I completely ran out of all my types of ammo. Instead of just trying to, you know, desperately jump up, if I hit a roof like that or hit anything, I really should have tried torso twisting to the right or the left, whatever, instead of just dying, you know, just exposing my CT like that and letting her take me out. Because the Arctic Cheetah, you know, is actually kind of in a decent position to win this. Again, the Vapor Eagle is out of ammo, and the Marauder has, or is about to lose half her torso. Unfortunately, it's not half her firepower. She has a lot of it right stacked. But the thing is, the Cheetah still does quite a bit of damage to that other side torso, and so I really have to wonder, had I hung on longer, you know, could I have bought the Cheetah the extra time to, you know, chew through that other side torso. And I really like the Cheetah was trying to bait out her fire. He was trying to block with his right torso, and then, you know, counterattack when she was on cooldown. But it didn't quite work out. So we lost, but a very close game. And so I did great damage, 860, but I only destroyed 2 components, and each one of those was, you know, a direct result of my kill. So again, not entirely sure about the AC-20 versus the LB-20, but let's go ahead and hop over to the LB-20 and see how that one does. So this build, again, going to be very much the same. It's just swapping out the Ultra 20 for an LB-20, but it is going to have a huge impact on my final numbers at the end. You can see the SRM ammo is the same, and I've just got 4 tons of LB-20 ammo. I think the jump jets and everything else are the same. I don't have the builds in front of me at the moment, so I will check that out later. But I think really all I did was just, you know, swap out the autocannon type and then swap out the ammo type.
Anybody got missiles?
But I wanted to mention too, the PC that I have, or that I have the parts for right now, is actually going to be a backup PC. That way I don't wind up in a situation like this again.
So
It's got,
lasers.
I don't know, kind of low-end parts. but it's going to be enough to play this. It's running on a Ryzen 5 1600 AF, so it's the one that's basically a 2600 just downclocked by like 2%, and it's stupidly cheap. And it'll run, it'll run MechWarrior Online pretty well. I think it'll actually do better than my old i5 8600K.
Sorry.
Here we go.
I think it might not hit the same frame rate. I'm not really sure though, because it seems like MechWarrior Online actually does take advantage of however many threads you have.
I brought NARC beacons. And
But
no
if
one
nothing
brought
else,
LRMs.
I can just play it in 4K, and the CPU won't really matter at that point, because it'll put most of the burden on the GPU instead. And I'm still going to have the same GPU from my old build. It's still going to be a GTX 1080 Mini.
You can pick out target.
And I'm moving to a slightly smaller case as well. I was using the Raven 03, which is like a 14-liter small form factor, and I'm going to just a Thermaltake Core V1, which is, I'm pretty sure, a 12-liter. It's basically a 1 meter cube, or sorry, 1 foot cube. It's something like 12 inches by 10 inches by 11 inches.
Delta is now NARC.
So the overall volume of that case is going to be about the same as what I have, but it's going to be in a slightly more compact form factor, because the Raven is essentially like an old VCR, or if you're too young to know what a VCR is, it's like the original Xbox One, like the giant Xbox One. But when I have some more time later on, I'm going to work on the new main PC, but that's going to be a little way down the line. Again, I've still got some other things going on, still got transitions with work and all this stuff, so I'm not too worried about that. So long as I have a working PC and the gaming laptop, between the two of them, I should do fine for now. But so here, the difference in the LB20 and the Ultra 20 are, I think, already going to become apparent. There are times like this, for example, where I'm sure I could have punched through the armor of that Kodiak if I had the Ultra 20. And yet with an LB20 it's kind of spread out. But had I taken that same shot with the Ultra 20, I don't think I would have blown off that component.
New target acquired.
So it's sort of I don't know. It requires, I think, a more precise playstyle to have, or to really be good with an LB20. And I'm awful with precision. I always like to just sort of get in there and brawl and not have to be quite so selective about my targets. With an LB20 or any sort of LB autocannon, you need to kind of cycle through targets and see who's vulnerable, and then try and take on, the best target for your weapons. Whereas with an, Ultra 20, it's very good at just drilling a hole at whatever's in front of you. Here I was aiming for that Black Lantern's legs, and I don't really know why. It's pretty easy to just take out the CT. If I had Artemis on these SRM4s, they might be a little better at stripping components, and so it might work better with the LB20, but I mean that's an extra 4 tons and 4 slots, and I don't know where in the world I would pull 4 tons especially.
Artillery strike.
So here I kind of wind up dismantling this missile boat. I can't believe I took off its both side torsos before I actually took out the center. It was just, I don't know, bad aim on my part, I guess. But we are just about to the end of it, and here I knew that he was going to hurt if I just stood there, so I jumped up, and he wound up shooting me in the legs with an AC-20s. And that's a pretty frustrating situation to be in when you're in just a very slow mech, and the entire team, the entire enemy team is just sort of bearing down on you.
Surrounded by hills.
You're just like, well, where do I turn? What do I shoot? What do I do? Uh, Generally, I just try and find a wounded target and go for them, and if that's not available, I just shoot whatever is in front of me. So here I'm looking off to the left because one person said they thought the sniper was an Echo 8.
Target spotted.
But then they found him where the other persons were, the other people were actually calling him, saying that he was in G8, and so they took him down. So now then, compare the damage here. I think it's about 200 less damage. Yeah, one less kill, but instead of 2 components, I took off 7 components. So pretty massive difference there. So I don't know, maybe the damage reduction is worthwhile. And this match was pretty heavily stacked in my team's favor. So perhaps given some more time in the fight, it would have reached similar damage numbers. So I think I need to keep trying both variants and really figure out which one I prefer.